Your boy here, and today we will be watching Wowie videos. So sorry you missed that part. I had to do something really important. Get a thing from my dog.
Without a second thought, I ran through the driver's door and slammed the safety door of the bus shop, making sure it couldn't reach me. Then, frantically, I reached for my cell phone and called 911 for help. The emergency operator's voice calmed my nerves. I explained the situation at the location of the bus. I was promised that the police would be dispatched immediately. As I waited, I held the flashlight in one hand and the bus steering wheel in the other, watching the man on the ground. The man began to come to his senses, but instead of trying to open the front door or looking for a way out, he just sat there and stared at me. His haunting smile persisted, and it was bigger than ever. He didn't seem to be in pain or show any normal emotion. When the police officers finally arrived, the man was arrested without much resistance. As they handcuffed the man, he continued to whisper incomprehensible words and laugh, which increased my discomfort and fear. The officers assured me that an investigation would be conducted and that they would take steps to ensure my safety. After giving my statement to the police, I made my way to the bus stop, shaking and shocked by the experience. I couldn't recall any similar incidents, but the thought of having left someone behind on a night like that haunted me. Eventually, the authorities discovered that the man suffered from severe mental illness and had been wandering the streets for years. He was not one of my former passengers as he had claimed. Although that revelation relieves me to some extent, the experience left me deeply scarred. From that day on, nights working on the bus became even more lonely and terrifying for me. Every shadow in the darkness, every haunting laugh reminded me of that autumn night. The story became an urban legend in the area. My night bus, known as the Last Bus, gained an infamous reputation.
Julia, how did you do that? Comes with every subscription. A shared closet with over 20.
Though I tried to move on, that sinister smile and the man's icy whispers never completely disappeared from my thoughts, and my nightlife was changed forever. It's undeniable that some people find it easier to find a job than others. The job market is very wide for young university students hungry for success. For me, on the other hand, it's very different. My name is Alfred, and I am 50 years old. But this is not a story about how hard it was to find a job. Today, I will tell you how the job I got, with a lot of effort, is almost the last job of my life. Because of life, I was never able to study or finish school. Looking for a job at my age was really very difficult. But I am the only breadwinner in my family, so I had to do it. Every job I went to, they told me different things. Some would tell me that they would call me after talking to other candidates, but I could see in their eyes that they knew they would. Others were more direct and told me I was too old for any job, even something as simple as a supermarket cashier. I went from failure to failure, but just as I was giving up, I got an opportunity and started working right away. The job was quite simple. I was going to be the caretaker of a soccer field. The team was pretty humble, so the stadium was pretty modest too. I'm used to everyone at work pretending I'm not there, and when they noticed my existence, it was to ask me for things in a bad way or make fun of me. But this place was different. All the players and workers at the club were really warm and welcoming. They all made me feel a part of a big family that started with the president and ended with me. The people at this job were very nice, and in the beginning, I was very happy. Until I discovered something that changed everything. Although it felt like a warm and friendly place during the day, the locker room was pretty old. When no one was in them, they looked abandoned and very scary. To tell you the truth, I didn't feel scared or anything like that. I was a grown up person, and I wasn't in the mood for superstitions or getting scared just because I was alone. The players told ghost stories and said that the field was haunted. They would tell me to be careful at night when I was alone, but I could tell that they were all laughing and not taking themselves seriously. My first nights guarding the court were pretty quiet. I came close to falling asleep several times. I really had nothing to do, but eventually I would get used to it and have a routine prepared, like carrying a book that I would read after cleaning up. I must admit that I heard several noises inside the locker room or in the facilities in general, but none of them caught my attention. Wherever I go, there will always be noises. If I am scared by each one of them, I would have to dedicate myself to something else. The important thing was that there were no people sneaking into the facility or rat problem. I was pretty quiet all night and didn't let anything break my peace. Little did I know that this tranquility would give me a false sense of confidence that would endanger my life. That day, my shift was just beginning. I had just finished cleaning the players' locker room and I was leaving to clean a hallway. But I heard a noise that caught my attention. The noise was coming from inside the locker room and it was too loud to ignore. Surely, no animal could have done it. It was like a thump as if someone had tried to destroy a dugout, but there was no one there, as I had just exited through the only entrance to that locker room. Confused, I took out my cell phone and went back into the locker room, recording everything I saw. I didn't realize it at the time, but during the recording, a terrifying shadow passed by the wall at an enormous speed. Even though I didn't see the shadow, I felt like something in the locker room had changed in the 3 minutes I had left. It may have been the same locker room visually, but now there was something about it that terrified me. The place felt icy cold, as if a huge, windless, gelid chill had taken over the whole place. Immediately I got goosebumps, not because of the cold, but because I felt that I was no longer alone. Before I could react, the battery of my cell phone ran out and it turned off, which made no sense because until a few minutes ago, I had it at more than 80% charge without seeing anything. But knowing that I was not alone, I ran out of the locker room as fast as I could. But it was not going to be that easy. Halfway through, I ran out of air and fell to the ground. It was a horrible feeling. I couldn't breathe and my lungs felt like they were going to burst. I gathered all my strength to get up again, but there was someone in front of me. There was a man, a local soccer player I didn't know. Why was he dressed as if he was going to play a match? Confused, I got up as best I could, and at that moment, I realized that something was wrong with this man. His skin was whiter than that of a normal person. It was too pale a white color, unnatural, as if he were dead. His eyes were glassy and his body was full of bruises. The moment our eyes met, the man began to cry tears of blood running down his face at enormous speed. Whatever this was, it was not human. While still trying to catch my breath, I tried to run past him, but he grabbed me by the neck with one hand. As I stood up, the man looked at me with a desperate and sad face and shouted, "You must help me! Who are you? Let me go! Please! You have to help me! I didn't ask for this. I was desperate. I'm married. I have a 3-year-old son. It can't end like this. Help me!" "Hey man, I have a family too. I don't know who you are, but please don't hurt me. I just want to see my family. You don't understand the things they do to me. I can't go back. I don't want to go back. I just want to have another chance to hug my family. I want to see them again. I don't want to do this. I was lost and no one would help me. I beg you, do something." Make no mistake, I was terrified. Every fiber of my body was screaming that I was in enormous danger. But while he was saying these things to me, while this man was screaming at me and squeezing me with his arm, I felt that there was no evil in him. There was desperation. Suddenly, he let go of me and screamed for help again. But this time, he wasn't looking at me. He was looking behind me. The temperature dropped even lower, and even though the light was on, the room got darker and darker with each passing second. I looked behind me and saw a bunch of shadows going from one place to another, slowly approaching where we were. "They're here! Don't let them take me, please!" In a matter of seconds, the shadows surrounded the whole place, and ignoring me, they threw themselves against the terrified man. The shadows began to surround his entire body as he screamed louder and louder in despair. He dropped to the floor and began to spin as if on fire. And in my presence, something invisible began to drag him around the place until I lost sight of him. I could not believe anything I had just seen. My only reaction was to stay on the floor in the fetal position,
Yeah.
crying and praying that this was all a nightmare. As soon as I got home, I saw my family surprised that I had arrived early. Without saying a word to them, I hugged them and started crying. After I didn't answer them when they asked me what was wrong, they just hugged me. The next day,